The University Council believe that we have in Ian Young a new leader of really extraordinary quality who will quickly win the confidence and affection of the entire ANU staff and student community, and will guide this university through the many challenges which do lie ahead. Ian Young, as I've said in the press release, has a wonderful scholarly and professional reputation, and he does have, in our judgment, all the qualities of vision and judgment and management flair, plus commitment to real excellence in research, in teaching and in policy outreach, that this university does need to take it through to its next stage of development. I think we all know that the higher education environment, both domestically and internationally, is becoming ever more fiercely competitive, and for all our huge achievements until now, we know that the ANU can't just rest on its laurels, and we do believe that Ian Young is superbly equipped to lead us through that set of challenges, that minefield which lies ahead. I think it's also worth me finally saying just that he was the outstanding candidate in a stellar field. You would hope and expect that a university like ANU would attract both formal applications and expressions of interest from really the most outstanding potential university leaders or actual present university leaders in the country and around the world. That was certainly the case, and it was not an easy task to winnow it down to the short list and then finally to a candidate, but to come through a very rigorous 4-month process of this kind, I think is again testimony to the skill and capacity that we will have leading us here from the 1st of March next year. So with those words, can I just throw it over to you, Ian, to make a few introductory comments, and then it's over to you for questions. Okay.
Gareth, firstly, thank you, and can I say just how tremendously honoured I am by being offered the position of Vice-Chancellor of the ANU. I think it's going to be the great honours which exist in Australian higher education. I think too often we actually take for granted what the ANU really is, and as somebody who's looked at it from the outside, the thing that first strikes you about this institution is simply the enormous quality of the staff and students that exist within the university. And it doesn't matter which of the disciplines you look at, whether it's across the humanities or the social sciences or science or engineering, in all of those areas ANU has just unbelievable resources at hand. I'll just quote two statistics for you which I think actually summarise that. This institution actually produces 30% more publications per member of staff than the group of 8 average. And if you look at researchers within the ANU who are ranked in the top half of 1% in the world, ANU has 50% more than its nearest rival within Australia. And I think those two statistics very clearly demonstrate that this is truly Australia's national university and a very significant institution on a world scale. And a great resource to be able to continue to build on the great things that the university has done in the past. My vision for the institution, one which will continue to develop in consultation with the Council and the university generally, is that this be Australia's national university, a resource for the nation which we can build for the nation's good. My view is that the ANU should be a number of things. It should obviously be a national research leader. It should be an institution which students around the country and indeed around the region aspire to attend. It should be a national leader in terms of social issues and policy issues. And finally, it should be a resource which helps to build the economy, the social elements, all of the institutions of government and society which are so critically important. And I very much look forward to working with the university community, with the staff, the students, the council of the institution as we take it forward in the future. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ian. Over to you for questions.
First of all, Ian, my name is Ben from the ABC. Just wanted to ask you a little bit, you're a man of many hats in some respects. You've formerly had something to do with international recruitment. That's obviously such a big deal. Do you think that'll stand you in good stead in a university like the ANU?
I have a background which is one of the elements indeed is as a director of IDP, Australia's foremost student recruitment company. International education is critically important to all higher education institutions today, not only in terms of the student population, but in terms of the very important foreign links that it develops for Australia. ANU, like all Australian universities, needs to be able to develop its international links, both in terms of students, research, and at all levels. So, yes, I very much, a world-class university has to be exactly that. It has to be linked to the world, and a very important element of the ANU activities will be to play on a world stage.
And that's particularly relevant, I guess, considering the rise in prominence of some of the universities in China and those sorts of regions as well, I suspect.
ANU's competitors are not local, not all concentrated in Australia by any means, and indeed the rise, particularly of Chinese institutions and institutions throughout Asia, will be significant competitors for this institution and indeed for Australian institutions generally. But also building the links for Australia particularly into Asia will be a critical element, I think, of the future of this institution.
You've spent about 7 years...
Could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sorry, I'm Lisa from Win News. You spent 7 years at Swinburne University. What's your proudest achievement during that time, and what's your lasting legacy for that university?
If you compare Swinburne today to what it was 7 years ago, it's hard to recognise the institution. During that period of time, we've almost doubled the resource base of the university. We've completely rebuilt our campuses. But most importantly, we've totally changed the research culture of the institution. We've gone from a university which had very little research base to one now that's ranked in the Shanghai Jiaotong top 500 in the world, which has started to really develop and compete on a world stage, which has a number of research groups which are of true international quality. So that, I mean, I think they're the issues which that institution will be able to use to continue to build in the future.
And what are your goals your time at the ANU?
Well, as I said before, I think ANU has a tremendously strong position to be able to build itself as a truly world-class university. And that's going to be on a number of fronts. It obviously needs to be an absolutely world-class performer in research, but it also has to be a national resource in terms of the education it provides, the public policy debate that it can engender, and importantly the links with industry and the development of the economy for this nation. So ANU, probably above all other institutions, has this national role to play.
Ian, you might have seen some of those world rankings that have come out recently that have shown the ANU slipping to some degree with regards to its international and Australian competitors. Do you feel like you have to steer a ship around? Is that the way you feel when you come to this university, or do you think it's on the right path as it is?
I mean, rankings are a blunt instrument, and much of the change in the positioning in the rankings is due to two things: either to changes in the methodology of the rankings, or that institutions are actually growing at different rates, because most of those ranking systems actually measure the volume of your output rather than the quality of your output. So you need to take those elements into effect. But no university can ignore the rankings. They're actually critically important to the public positioning of universities. I believe that, as I said before, ANU is on a course right now which is building the quality of the institution, building the quality of the staff and the students, and that's really the direction that I see the institution going in the future.
You've got
Ladies and gentlemen from the Canberra Times, could you, now moved into university administration and policy, but could you tell us a bit about your scholarly background?
Well, I'm a civil engineer by background, and my research interests are in the ocean, so the physical attributes of the ocean. So I'm often called a coastal engineer or a physical oceanographer. So I span across multidisciplinary areas in terms of engineering and physics, and in more recent times climate change.
And at risk of, well, I will ask the parochial question. Can you tell us about how much you're looking forward to living in Canberra? And are you moving, have you got family living here with you?
I have, yes. Of course, I'm not a newcomer to Canberra. In fact, I lived here for 12 years. Earlier on in my career, I was at the Australian Defence Force Academy. So Canberra is not an unknown entity to me, and I'm still actually a Canberra Raiders fan. So there's my credentials right up front.
You'd obviously have that science background. Is that going to be somewhat of a pet project for you at the ANU? Is that something that you're really keen to develop here?
I think it's actually, I mean, as I said earlier, ANU's got strengths right across the board. Obviously, it has strengths in science and engineering, and indeed in medicine. But I also think you shouldn't forget the critically important and very high-class work that's done at this university in the humanities and social sciences. So I'm going to be taking a very broad brush in terms of looking to develop the quality right across all of those areas of the institution.
What sort of legacy do you think Professor Chubb leaves for the ANU?
I think, Ian Chubb has been a really dominant force, I think, in higher education over the last few years. But I think, as I said, the one legacy that if you try to choose one legacy, I think it's the quality of the staff within the ANU. I mean, that is the thing when you compare this institution to every other university in Australia. That's the clear thing that differentiates itself. And I think that's the greatest resource that this university has to be able to build its future on.
Can you tell us, when were you offered the job, and who was it, Professor Evans that rang you, and what was your reaction when you were offered the position?
He was only offered the job this morning, straight after the University Council meeting. But,
but we have been discussing it over a period of a week.
He became the preferred candidate after the shortlist of candidates were all interviewed extensively over 2 days last week. And then we go through an internal process of further due diligence and God knows what else you don't want to know until we end discussion and consultation with other council members, so that we were pretty sure that we knew where we were by the time we arrived here in Canberra this morning. But he can speak for himself as to his reaction when he got the call from
reaction. Look, a huge honour. I mean, if you actually, if you look at, as I said, if you look at Australia's universities, the position of Vice-Chancellor of ANU is both one which I come to with a whole lot of humility. I think it's a tremendous honour to be asked to serve in this role, but also one that I come to with a huge amount of excitement in terms of the possibilities of what this institution can be in the future. So I really come here with hopefully a lot of energy, a lot of passion, and really excitement about the things that we might be able to build in the future, to build on the great base that the university already has.
Gareth, what stood Ian apart from the other candidates? What was the defining quality that you thought ANU really needed?
Well, it's a combination of characteristics which I've already described. I mean, he had the analysis of the challenges that confront the university very clearly articulated. The kinds of prescriptions that you've heard this morning in terms of further building our research capacity and our international outreach and so on, very clearly thought through, articulated. Very strong track record of competent, effective, dynamic management over a long period at, admittedly, an institution which doesn't bear immediate comparison with ANU, but enough comparison for us to know that we're on a good thing. Then other questions about demonstrated respect, credibility in scholarly terms, very, very distinguished researcher, which is important in terms of the staff confidence in the leadership of the institution. Very strong track record of engagement in higher education policy and administration in this country, again over a long period. Good links with the governmental process on both sides of politics, which is very important for this national university, and loads of personal charm and capacity to go with it, which I think will make him a very effective communicator, both in the university community and in the wider outreach. I have to say it was tough competition. It was very tough competition, and it was not because there was any diminution in quality across the fields, because the quality across the field was so high. But for Ian to come through that process with the unanimous support of the University Council and this is a popular and a good choice, I think, for the University Council, is, I think, testament to the credentials that you see on display now.
Professor Young, you take up the position in March next year. How long do you intend to stay in Canberra for?
Well, my contract is for a 5-year period.
5 years.
So 5 years initially, and then at the discretion of the council, I would imagine.
There you go. Anyone else? If not, thank you, linesman, boys, and thank you.